How's it going, everybody? My name is Ryan45678, and this video is going to be a Galil ARM build on a Tortort 100% receiver. And so the way that I'm going to be doing this video is not a full build video. Those are already out on YouTube, or if you look on Weapons Guild, there are more detailed written in picture instructions there. What I'm going to be doing in this video is actually going over things that I found difficult or that I didn't find specific information on. And yeah, so hopefully you'll find something useful in this video. And for YouTube, no, this is already a complete firearm. I'm not building a firearm. So let's start with the rivets. You will need 6 rivets for this build. Hopefully you can see that. 1 for the bullet guide, 4 for the mag release, catch, whatever you want to call it, and 1 for the trigger guard. The consensus is essentially that you can use a fixed stock AKM rivet set, and that's what I have here. I believe it's from AK Builder. I've also heard that you cannot use one of these. You have to use a retaining wire. And from what from fiddling with it, you cannot use the factory retaining wire because it goes around, I guess, the 3rd pin, which you obviously don't have on a semi-auto build. These 2 sets of rivets you will not need from the AKM fixed stock rivet set. Let's come to the rivets you do need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And they are the longer flat-headed rivets. There's one more that's a shorter flathead rivet. That one is for the trigger guard hole, which is this one. And the other 4 are for the mag catch release thing. And I believe, I'm not sure yet, I believe one of these, should be this one, can fit in it fits in the bullet guide hole. I'm not sure on the length yet. One thing I found is that the holes on this receiver are like too small for the rivet heads, unless I just don't understand rivets. Basically, I hammered these in because I couldn't fit them by hand into the holes they're going into, and they kind of unsleeved themselves. I don't know if you can really tell, but I had to kind of clean up the unsleeving, but they did go in after that, and they will work. The other thing, while we're on the topic of rivets, that I've heard people say is that you need to be careful when you install the bullet guide. You need to shim it, because if you don't, you might break it due to reasons. I feel like maybe it would catch on the sides of this shelf, and there's still space, and you might break it or squish it. All right, next up we have the folding stock. And before I go too far, I want to say that I'm planning on refinishing this as well as the receiver with appliance epoxy in black, which you can also, from people I've seen on YouTube, and I've done it myself on a test piece, if you use a heat gun to basically bake it at about anywhere from 350 to 400. The paint says it's not meant for over 200 degrees, but I baked it at about 400, what I measured coming out of the heat gun, and it was fine for about, I think, 45 minutes to an hour. I've seen times vary. I've seen people say that specific finishes, like if you bake it sooner, it's a more matte finish. If you bake it after a week, it's a more shiny finish. I did not see any difference between that. I did a week, baked after a week. It was fairly matte, a little bit shiny. Then I also did a mist coat. Someone said to do that over top of that and then bake it. It looked the same to me, so take that for what it's worth. So here I figured I'd show you what the paint is while I'm talking about it. It's Rust-Oleum appliance epoxy. And you will pretty much need some extra tips for it. These are male fats something. I'll try to put a link, but I got them off of eBay for, I think, $10 for 20 of them. They're a little bit more on Amazon, but so I got them on eBay. And the reason behind that is because, and I've found this myself, if you use it once, it's fine. If you use it again, it'll splatter. And here's the actual receiver piece I was talking about. It turned out pretty nice. It seems to me that the shininess varies between like the material that you're painting. So this maybe was more of a rough finish and it came out more rough. And this side, maybe I laid on a thicker coat. I'm not sure. But anyway, I did not really degrease it that much, so the paint would probably flake off. You probably can't tell, but yeah, it's pretty durable. You can scratch it with a coin, like a dime. A penny won't scratch it, but a dime will scratch it if you try. If you just kind of brush it, it won't. I don't know if there's any here, but see, there's a splatter mark right here. It's pretty bad, so that's why the tips. Anyway, back to the stock. As far as disassembly, it's just a roll pin here that comes out of the receiver, and I did have to use some force. Like I said, I'm planning to disassemble this thing because I want to paint it, and this is actually plastic, and I would rather paint individual pieces than just paint over everything, you know. And I don't think the plastic could really handle the heat, which is also an issue because there's another roll pin here that comes out. But from what I've read online, these are fixed in there with epoxy as well, which you can use heat or chemicals to supposedly break it free. I tried a little bit of heat. I'm trying to be careful with the plastic, but not too much luck so far. I'll try some more. Apparently, at least from a photo I saw, these are also pins. You might be able to tell a little bit. Roll pins. This one. I'm going to try to drive them out, see what happens, and I will let you know. Right, update on the stock. This thing was on there good. What ended up happening is me and my brother got to come along, strapped this end, and pulled it between a tree and the truck. And finally, it snapped loose. Probably not the safest way to do it, but it came off. I think what happened is this bottom part that was loose, it was already loose, I could tell. Whatever this plastic thing is, that might actually be the epoxy on the other one. It's kind of cracked in there. So I can do this without dropping it. I don't know if you can see it, but it's it kind of broke off in there. This one doesn't really have it. I don't know that I'm going to want to glue that back in when I put it back on after refinishing, so we'll see. But anyway, the reason I'm showing all this is because I could not find anybody saying how to take this thing apart. It was, obviously the pin comes out, and then you kind of heat it up with epoxy, but I mean, you heat up because it's got epoxy, and then you try to get it out, but that did not work. So anyway, I've never seen anybody do this. Yep, this plastic is just going to slide off. Yeah, that went flying. That little piece comes off. Oh, there's like a little nubby and a hole that matches up to it right there. Sorry, it doesn't want to focus, but anyway, that's how that goes. All right, sorry for the weird angle, but it's the best way I could think of to show what I'm doing. I'm trying not to use the GoPro anymore because it's not very good quality, and everybody complains about the video moving around. So figure fixed camera, single-handed iPhone while I'm not working on something actively. Yeah, this will come off. It's just going to take a little bit. It looks like the short end by the hole faces the gun. The long end faces the butt. So just keep that in mind. Mostly for me, honestly. I will forget. Hold on, let me get a rag or something. I've already got it all greasy. So, let's see. Yeah, here it goes. It's coming. There we go. So one more thing. These, I could never figure out if these were actually pins or not. I saw two different people who had one. One looked like roll pins, one looked like solid pins. This looks like, I don't know what, maybe rivets, or they swelled the head out. I don't know. But anyway, I don't need to worry about that because this came off on that side. But I just thought I'd show you in case you were curious, and I don't actually have the answer. So this piece, I have not decided if I want to refinish this or not. There's instructions on how to take this pin out. You basically have to find something to do this action where you push it. You keep the pin up, I think, with a clamp or something, and then you use something to get this C-clip off. So I'm actually going to take this apart because I think I do want to refinish it. If not, nothing else, just clean it. But the method I'm going to be using, hopefully if it works, is C-clip on this side. I'm going to put cardboard when I actually do it, but here, and a 1/4-inch socket is going to fit right there and push it in. I'm going to have to hold it with my hand. I'll show you in a second because it's going to want to fly out. So you can kind of see this is extended. I could get to it with, I guess, a small screwdriver. But if I let go with pressure, this wants to fly out. It is off. It took 2 people. I held it down while my brother got it with a screwdriver. But anyway, the pin right here and the spring. There we go. Now we have that assembly. I'm gonna bag these up. Anyway, that's one way to get that doohickey off. I've seen people make contraptions and tools that are basically a complicated clamp that has like a protrusion up here to hold it at a different angle, so it leaves this end open for the clip. But it's like ground down sockets and stuff. But anyway, that's how I did it. All right, so I've got a quick update. I've fitted the bullet guide. As you can also tell, I painted the receiver. It took several tries. That's probably for another video. This is Galil specific. So anyway, the bullet guide has to be fitted. There's this whole controversy between Hillbilly Firearms and another guy. I can't remember his name. I'll possibly link it in the description. But Hillbilly was saying that the original receivers being hand-turned, hand-machined, and the bullet guides being cast, they had to fit them from the factory. The other guy was saying, no, I have 3 different ones, haven't been filed on. They fit on one receiver stub that has where the bullet guide goes. I'm inclined to believe him, just because this thing was a lot out of spec. Let me show you. So here's the bullet guide. As you can see, I had to basically file a lot off of this surface and this surface, mainly here, just to get it to fit without a gap on the bottom here where it mates to the receiver. Just keep that in mind. It seems that the American-made receivers are possibly using, from what the other guy said, maybe incorrect specs for the radius on this thing. But anyway, pop that in. It's a little bit of a trick to get this to go, but here we go. And I'll show you the bottom if you can see it. Yeah, this is probably the best angle you can tell. There's still like a tiny gap. If I put feeler gauges on it, it might be maybe a couple thousandths, a few thousandths anyway. But I think that's enough to where it's not going to cause any issues when I try to go put that in. Next, I'm going to see if my rivet will fit. It's a standard trigger guard mag release rivet for an AKM. All right, so one thing, ignore what I said earlier in the video. I'll probably cut most of it out. About hammering in the rivets and like unsheathing them to make them fit. You can literally just take a drill bit and run it through there. I was going to do that anyway because I got paint in the holes, but it is a 5/32 drill bit that I used, and as you can pretty much see, this rivet, it could probably stand to be a little bit bigger. So it's probably a bigger size, but for my purpose, I think that's fine since I've already done the unsheathing. All right, yeah, so with some filing, this rivet fits, filing on the rivet, to clarify, it fits really well. So that's the rivet inside the bullet guide. It does look like it might be a little short. The general rule of thumb I've seen for rivets is, these kind of rivets, is 1.5 times the width of the shank should be how much it's sticking up past both surfaces that it's joining. So in this case, it would need to be, see how thick that is? It would have to be that times 1.5 above, I wouldn't say the bullet guide itself, I would say where it starts to meet it at the bottom. I don't know, I'll probably try it. I'll let you know if it works. I mean, the worst that could happen, you have to redo it. And you know what, doing a rough guess, that height, I mean, it's not exactly right, but that height almost looks like a little bit more than the width of that rivet, so I'm gonna call it good. So I find this pretty funny. I have this dagger that I attempted to make from Skyrim by literally tracing my TV screen. The piece of stock I was using wasn't big enough, so I was trying to get this to work. I could probably weld it now, but anyway, look. It literally fits exactly what I need for this. I don't even have to, all I have to do is cut this off and it will fit. Amazing. And then end drill the divot. Alright, I got a quick update for y'all. So I installed the barrel. I kind of boogered up the threads. I'll kind of show you what I did. I took a 20mm crowfoot wrench with a 3/8 socket. I shimmed it a little bit with paper towel because it was kind of a loose fit, and I really should have not used a 1/2 inch torque wrench with an adapter because that caused it to wobble quite a bit, and that's, I think, why it slipped. Also, you can supposedly use, I don't know about this barrel specifically, but some barrels you can supposedly use an armorer's wrench like you would have for an AR-15. I can't find mine. I would have used it if I could find it, but that's what I had. It looks pretty good. It could probably go a little bit more, but it was about 100 foot-pounds, maybe 90 to 100. It does headspace, from what I can tell. It won't close. It really won't close on a no-go gauge. It'll close. It will not close on a go gauge either, but by less. But it will close on a live round with a little bit of force. And I heard someone else, I don't remember who, in a video, they said that that's good tight headspace and it'll loosen up over time, which makes sense. So anyway, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do like Hillbilly Firearms video and lap in the bolt with some grinding compound. I took the extractor and the firing pin out. It's basically just like an AK. And then next, once I get that done, I'll check headspace again, but I mean, really, I'm not expecting a change, except maybe it'll go on a go gauge now. But it doesn't really matter because it's pretty much headspaced already. Next, I'm gonna make sure I get my retainer on here whenever I do the gas block, which will require drilling a hole, and I'm gonna have to find a way to time the gas block when I put it on, so I'm not sure about that yet. And then rivets. I need to do some more paint on the stock. After that, I think it's mostly just final assembly, which is really cool. So anyway, I'll update you if I run into any issues. This all should be pretty straightforward things that are covered in other people's videos that I'm not gonna film. So I'm just telling you what I'm gonna do. And if anything goes wrong or I find something that I had trouble with, I'll let you know how I dealt with it. So quick update. I was working on getting the gas port hole located, and in the meantime, I was watching a video from the YouTube channel called Evocatus, and he recommends putting the gas tube, the bolt, recoil spring, and the top cover on before you do that, because where this ends up, this is tight, and if you don't do that, it's not going to be tight, so you may not have a good reference for where to put the hole. But anyway, he kind of eyeballs it, and I eyeballed it as well. The straight line, the gas tube seems a little bit crooked. It seems like it really needs to be like this. But anyway, I did what he did. I'm not going to go through it because he's already got the video. But anyway, you basically see where this would sit, the gas block. You put it on, see where it would sit here, do the math, either from this direction, I did from that direction, or from this direction, and line up horizontally where your hole would intersect. But while I was mentioning that, I wanted to mention the top cover. I actually ended up having to file it down on the front quite a bit, because it was catching in the back here. It was not, even though I hit it with a hammer like a hillbilly firearm says to do, if it's tight, to make it smaller, it was not enough. I had to file on the front quite a bit. But anyway, it does fit now. You smack it in. It's kind of tight to get off. I'm sure it'll maybe work in. But yeah, that's an update for y'all. I'm going to do, following Evocatus's video on drilling the gas port hole, center drill, and then he refused to say what drill bit size he used. I'm going to use a 1.8 millimeter because that's apparently the normal size. And I've also got my KNS piston, so I'll adjust that once the gun is complete. Alright, so update on the gas hole. It is drilled. That was a nightmare. I tried to use a center drill, and half of my problem with breaking the center drill and the 1.8 millimeter bit is I had the mill spinning the wrong way. See, I forgot that it's not left and right, it's forward and reverse, and I had it go in reverse because I was like, oh, righty-tighty. Nope. And that's my fault, because I literally saw it. I saw it looking like it was going the wrong way, and I was like, it's just my eyes. No, dummy, it's not. But anyway, I had a little bit of trouble with the bits getting stuck in there. The last one, I was really scared because I thought it was like really deep in there, and it was, but I was actually able to punch it out. It kind of got stuck in the barrel. I got a metal rod and a wood rod and poked it out. So it is good to go now. We'll see if I can erase these lines, and then I'll work on pressing the gas block on after I clean up this. Not sure exactly how I'm going to do that. I have this pipe that fits over the gas block. I'll have to cut some notches in it for the gas block. We'll see how that fits. And as far as the back, I really don't want to take this barrel out just because of what it did, putting it in, gouging the threads and stuff. I mean, not the threads, the flats. So about that, I don't know yet. It's possible I could rig something up to fit through the receiver and catch up on the barrel, or I might just use a hammer if the pipe works and it can go well enough. I don't know, we'll see. So just to show you my setup real quick, it is working, actually with a pipe and dead blow hammer. This is 3/4 pipe, and I've just got a piece of cardboard around it to avoid damage. Also some paper towels. I tried to wrap them around the barrel. It didn't really work. They kind of squished, but that actually kind of ended up acting as a cushion per se. And of course, at the top of the threads on the barrel, I've got the little plastic piece that came with it, so as not to damage the threads. And it's almost there. I guess it's lined up. That's the one thing I've been like not sure of on this thing, is like, how do you know it's timed with like the sights and everything? But this thing really does not have any flex, so it's gonna go where it's gonna go, I think. And there we have it. I did have to finish up the last like ½ inch with a real hammer, no big deal. And like I said, I shimmed it a little bit because it wasn't quite, it was kind of pointed down a little bit too much, so it needed to go up to be able to fit in, but it should be fine theoretically once I take it back apart. It was just a matter of this thing is not moving and it needs to line up with this thing, which can move, so I moved this thing. When I put it back together, it should be fine. I'll have to try it and see, but yeah. The only other thing is a little bit of, not damage, but just marks from the cardboard right on that front part. But otherwise, I'm happy with that. It did no damage at all. And it went on like it's supposed to. So one thing I am having to do, just because this is so long, and this is not the best vise or way of clamping, see how I can move it up and down? I'm having to kind of push because it kind of tends to want to sag. Alright y'all, so I'm at the point now where I'm ready to rivet the trigger guard in, and that's the major thing that I'm missing so far, the trigger guard and the mag catch rivets. After that I can basically just assemble the Galil. So I'll show you some differences. This on the left is the Galil trigger guard and mag catch release thing. There's the rivets, there's the spring and the pin. And here's an 8 from a Polish WBP AK-74 kit that I also have. You can notice some differences. This paddle sticks out on the Galil. It doesn't even go down that far or out at all on the 74, which I think would be true for any other AK for the most part. And so what I've already done, because I was painting this anyway, I drove out this pin. You just take the swelled side, kind of like on here. I think it's that side. Yeah, the swelled side. You drive it out with a pin. Be careful because the spring will want to fly out. I think it did on me. I'm going to show you how this goes in the rivet jig. I'm going to have to make some modifications. I'll show you the AK-74 first, just so you can see how it's supposed to fit. And you can see it takes a little, like you'll obviously on an AK do these first and then immediately do this. Once those are lined up, it doesn't really matter where this sits, I don't think, because you're just going to press that. It's not quite lined up, but anyway. So it's a similar idea with the Galil, except that, oh no, it's touching the jig. So you could probably get away with pressing it like this, but it's gonna mess up the this piece right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna file or grind on that corner right there, the other corner, maybe just the whole thing, we'll see, until it fits flush without any contact, so that I'm not squishing my mag release thing, and I'm not taking the paint off when I do it. All right, can't really see it too well, but I've got the notches filed. This is without the rivets, and it basically fits. So I'll put the rivets on in a sec. Let me show you the actual thing I did. Yeah, that's what I did. Just filed some notches. Did an okay job of keeping the file away from the rest of the jig, but that's all right. Painter's tape afterwards kind of helped, but I still kind of got through. So anyway, that's what I did. I'll show you with rivets. While I'm at it, one other thing to note, you'll realize that this doesn't have the trigger guard on it yet, and it's actually backwards compared to the AK, which would go back here. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but you can't exactly fit this in here unless you want to grind out an entire chunk. But anyway, it's pretty straightforward. You would attach that piece onto the end. You would probably just turn it around, the rivet for it here, put the trigger guard around here and rivet it by itself. So yep, rivet's in, it's flush. You know, I don't think I actually needed that much filing, because it's really only the corners. I probably could have gotten away with very little, but I wanted to be sure. All right, I'll just kind of show you all my setup really quick. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but I got the trigger guard with the rivets in the jig. Make sure it's the right size rivets, not the short rivet, because that's for the trigger guard. This little tab hanging off the edge right here. And make sure you face it the right direction. The little safety stop goes on the right side of the gun, so the barrel is going to be coming out this way. A good way to check is, see that little tab? That goes back, because the trigger guard has to go behind the mag release. So let's get the rest of it set up. Alright, this definitely would be easier without the barrel installed, but I've already done that. I'm not taking this stupid barrel out again. But basically I'm going to put the plate on top of here, and then the which is this piece, and then the pusher goes on top of that to press it, and just like that. I did have to tap them in. I just used the end of that, but you can use whatever. But they're in there snug. Jig time. So slight change of plans. I actually had to do some filing on this pusher because it did not fit. It would kind of sit at an angle and get stuck, because apparently there's a little bit of a curve in there, if you can see, on that side, and a little bit on that side, not so much here. I might need to do a little more filing on the bottom to make it fit more flat, but there we go, perfect, just like that. And then incidentally, not related to the Galil, the AK-74, I'm gonna have to do some as well. You could potentially, theoretically, just slide it in, but it hits that little nub, so I'm gonna have to cut some off the top, I think. But I'll get to that when I get to it. I don't want to do that right now. So here it is. Like I said, this would be much easier if I didn't have the barrel sticking out, because now I'm having a hard time keeping it straight on there. But as long as it's level, you can pretty much tell. I'm gonna get it set up on there, and then I'll switch back to the camera and press them in. I'm not actually sure how much to press them, but we'll find out, I guess. Yeah, looks like it's all set up. I have no idea when to stop. I guess when I start feeling a little more pressure. It's not quite squishing them yet. Maybe it is. This is a 20-ton press, by the way, not a 12 or whatever. Okay, I don't want to absolutely squish these. They might be done. In fact, they're probably more than done. Sorry. Yeah, they're probably more than done, so I'll take this off and check. Okay, false alarm. The jack was not tightened, so I think we're okay now. I just don't have the right tool to do it. Okay, that's probably good. All right, yeah, so I got it. The left side I had some trouble with. If I can get some light, I'll show you. You can kind of see that the right side got very, very squished. The left side, not as much. If anything, those might be actually perfect. But it's good, it's on. Now on to the trigger guard. All right, yeah, it should be pretty straightforward. This is the back of the gun. You just tip this into that notch right there. Get the rivet in. I may have to tap it with a hammer, we'll see, but either way, yeah, I'll get that. I'll tap that in, and then we'll get it pressed. All right, there it is, tapped in. Got the plate on top. All right, that one's set up. Let me just say this one took a little bit of jiggling around to get it in the right position, because it, depending on how you put the plate and the follower, this thing is cockeyed for one, but it kept wanting to tilt like that, the follower I mean. But finally I got it. Not sure how, but just had to mess around with it. So let's get this one riveted. Before it leaks. Okay. So yeah, that one's done. That's a nice squished rivet, maybe too much. These ones I tried again, but maybe just because the press is leaking, it just doesn't get enough force. But I think they're in there. Yeah, they're not. Yeah, because I kind of did start to deform the rivet heads, so I think it's fine. Yeah, so that spring actually wasn't too bad. I basically got the lever in first, put a punch through the lever to act as the pin, put the spring in its orientation with the big part, the V shape facing down, the big part with a little tail sticking out on the big piece, and the other side on the lever, and then you just kind of push it down almost into place, and then you take the punch out while holding it and push the spring down just a little bit until it lines up in the hole, and you put the punch in, and then you use that to transfer the pin instead. And I'm gonna try something. Usually use a ball bearing. Usually you use a ball bearing with a press, but I don't think I have a ball bearing, so I'm just gonna find something to take that that pinhole and widen it to secure it in place. See if I can show you the mag with one hand. And then take it out. Just, yep, like that. So here's what I used. Screw head for one end. Actually did both. So I use this for my driver on the one end with a hammer and the other end to support. I kind of flip back and forth because I think the screw head actually did a better job of rounding it out. But that and that. So let's talk retaining wire for the fire control group pins. Basically what we have, I tried the shepherd's hook. I could not get that thing in. It kept, it had to bend so much, or spring tension so much, that I just gave up. It kept flying out. What I've got here is a modified AK retainer plate. Babyface P has a good video on that. I basically did what he did, cut it off, and then filed it to fit around the outside edge of the safety lever on that side. And it wiggles a tiny bit, but I think the idea is that the retaining is only for the hammer pin, the trigger pin, and it just sits against the safety. Safety goes in last, because you can't really get that in with the safety already in there. It won't work, and that way the retaining plate stays in place, and so the pins are retained, because you basically have to hammer the safety selector from the other side on, so that's not going anywhere. So there is that, and that's I think it for the fire control group. We'll get the bolt, put the extractor and the firing pin back in. It's exactly the same as an AK, so I'm not going to show that. There's tons of videos on that. And then we'll test the fire control group, make sure it works. And then I think we're ready to put the stock on, and then put the gas tube and the dust cover back on, and that's it. And I'm not going to show those either because I've done those a million times, and there's other videos on that. I'm just trying to showcase Galil specific things that I either had trouble with or that there isn't much info about. So yeah, I'll show you guys the end result. So one thing to be careful of that I just ran into is that the retainer plate goes a little bit too far underneath the selector on the other side. So you see the selector on this side needs to line up, but in order for that to work, this selector would have to go further than it can right now. And I did actually do that on accident. It was over the retainer plate, which caused it to not let the other side go all the way because it was obviously on top of that thing. So don't do that. I need to grind this, file this down so where that won't happen. All right, I think I got it. Here's the profile of mine. Hopefully you can see pretty well. I'll move the selector to it. So it's not quite there. I need to go a little bit further. Actually, it might be the end of my, where the selector can go. All right, so that's the new profile. Not much rounded, honestly. So I think that'll give it enough enough rotation to be able to finish the putting the selector in and still retain it. All right, there it is. It goes from position to position just fine. So that's good.